Look, it's coming up on the weekly close. It's been about 36 hours since my last video, and I want to do an update for you guys, but there's really nothing to talk about. So let's make this quick and get it out of the way. Monthly swing is still up. We're about $1,500 off of turning the bar red, which we've still got about 2 weeks. It could happen. If we do turn the bar red, maybe this monthly BX might even make lower lows, showing this April move up as a fake out, and the bear market is going to continue. And it has happened in the past through 2020, like through COVID. The low for the cycle in that case was already in. However, we pretty much tested that price almost exactly. So in the case that the cycle low is in, I would still expect a retest of the low to mid $60,000 range at the minimum. And I'll cover this more in a later video, so this one doesn't go too long. Weekly analysis, nothing has changed. The weekly swing is still down. The stochastic RSI looks like it wants to cross bearish. The weekly BX trender is hanging on to bullish just by a thread. And unless we get a capitulation in the next 40 minutes, I think it is still going to close higher high. We'll obviously have to see how next week pans out. We're obviously rejecting off the 33 fair value band. Weekly 1-bar swing is still up. And Bitcoin is selling off a tiny bit as I'm making this video. On the daily time frame, since making my last video, you can see we have retested this diagonal downtrend line from the underside and continued to sell off, which is not a great sign for the bulls. We do have the potential of a fourth time breakout should price rally up to the top of this bull flag again. You can see with this trend line here and this trend line here. And if this sell-off here does end up being a swing failure pattern and we get a massive reversal, then I do think a failed move down would equal a fast move up. So maybe that is what happens, but for now it looks unlikely. I do think this 50-day TMA, which right now lines up perfectly with that 17th of March swing top, is going to be the next target, around $76,100 or so, down to about 76K exact. On the 4-hour time frame, you can see since I made my last video, pretty much a whole lot of nothing has happened. Hello, YouTube. There we go. You can see a whole lot of nothing has happened. We've literally just grinded between 77.6 and 78.5. I did talk about the potential of a retest of the 236 fib level, or which would potentially line up with where the 33 fair value band is, as obviously the band is now trending downwards as price is underneath it, or a retest of these swing lows at around 78.5 to 78.7. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. As Michael always says, old lows can become new tops and vice versa. So for now, I can't really do Wyckoff on just a couple of bars. As a 4-hour Wyckoff pattern, you typically want to see at least about a week's worth of price action to get a good gauge. As if you remember me talking through here, we were getting lower highs, and I marked out the breakdown zones, etc. On the 1-hour time frame though, it is a bit clearer. Despite the absolute pitiful volume, you can sort of see how we are getting support at the 77.6-ish level. However, the lows are starting to drift a bit lower. We're still holding the absolute breakdown zone, so there's no confirmation that this is redistribution just yet, but we're unable to get any higher lows above the fair value band, and we're starting to form lower highs as we speak. And obviously, coupled with the fact that price is now grinding between the -1 standard deviation and the 33 fair value band, it obviously means that we're locked in this downtrend. For us to be in an uptrend, you want to see the opposite, price between the 33 fair value band and the +1 standard deviation band. Now, the USDT dominance has turned the weekly swing back up. Nothing's really changed there. Stochastic RSI wants to cross bullish. Weekly BX wants to make higher lows, but that hasn't quite happened this week just yet. Obviously, the US dollar has made another little attempt higher. Obviously, not a whole lot of price action because the futures market has only just opened as we are speaking, and the stock market has not opened yet and won't open for a few hours. Quick look at market data. Max pain levels haven't changed. If we take out that 77.1, I do expect further continuation to the downside. The 24-hour liquidation numbers got extremely low over the weekend. I saw that 1 hour as low as like 950k, and the 24-hour certain periods were down to like 60 million. You can just see everyone that was bullish got wiped and everyone walked away. If we have a quick look at the liquidation map, you can see it is pretty balanced. Obviously, on the 7-day, we do have a bit of a short bias, and on the 30-day, we've got a slight long bias. So the market might bumble around for a bit here before it decides where to go. Maybe it, chops slightly lower until it meets the 50-day TMA at around, 76k or maybe slightly higher. I think everyone is waiting to see how the stock market opens potentially. If we have a look at the Forex Factory, which has somehow decided to reload, I have no idea why it has just decided to reload. Okay, never mind. Forexfactory.com does not want to work for me. But if we have a look at the hyperliquid liquidation map, you can see the low $70,000 range, about 71.5 to 73.5, looks like a bit of a magnet. And that 73.8 looks like a liquidation wall there. But on the long side, that wall is all the way up at 103k. So I do believe we will potentially come down ultimately and retest the lower channel. So this line here, we've got the upper channel line and the lower channel line on this gigantic daily bear flag. But I do expect, obviously, old highs to at least serve as new lows temporarily, even if it only stops the market for a day or two, like this trend line here, pause the decline for a day. And I do believe we will potentially come down to about the $74,000 as our next destination. And if we go through that, I believe this 71.6 level could potentially serve as a bit of a magnet, which would drive price through this entire liquidation wall here. So potentially, we'll get a pretty decent sell-off down to the 50% level. Maybe some temporary stops at 76 and 74k. But for now, I am bearish simply because 4 hours trend is down, and that 4-hour trend has not really been down since the end of April. And obviously in that case, we got much stronger bounces than we did now, much more volume, and obviously we got that bullish breakout. And now there's no volume. So we'll just have to see what happens if this ends up developing into at least a 2-week or so downtrend, or potentially a multi-week or multi-month decline into the cycle low. Anyways, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you all for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe. Goodbye.